You're watching Education for Health Professional Regulators of Ontario, colleges under the Regulated Health Professions Act. Richard Steinica is a senior partner of Steinica Mikura LeBlanc, and he practices exclusively in the area of professional regulation. Richard is a noted author of the Complete Guide to the Regulated Health Professions Act, which, because of its comprehensive nature, has been cited by courts and tribunals, even in cases dealing with non-health professions. Marshall Molesky is the past president of the Federation of Health Regulatory Colleges of Ontario, and he serves as Chief Executive Officer and Registrar of the Ontario College of Pharmacists. Join Marshall and Richard now as Marshall poses a number of important questions on behalf of those of us who want to know more about regulating healthcare practitioners in Ontario.
What are some of the key concepts to ensure effective college communications with others?
I say there's 3 C's that are part of effective college communications. Communications have to be clear, they have to be consistent, and they have to be coordinated. And in doing so, you have to be able to distinguish correctly as to what information is private and confidential and what information is open and transparent.
Richard, give me some examples of college communications with external parties.
There are quite a few areas in which colleges do communicate externally. That includes council meetings that people can observe, discipline hearings that are open to the public register, which is on the website and contains information for the public, when there are consultations on proposed regulations or bylaws or policies, annual reports to the minister and the Fairness Commissioner and others, when the college is gathering information from others, for example, during an investigation, and when the college responds to inquiries. For council and committee members, it is much more limited. They generally will be involved in communications externally when they're approached by colleagues and others. Some of those inquiries can be quite innocuous, but sometimes they're being lobbied for a position on how they're going to vote on an issue, or they might be pursued for a quote that can be used in the media. In addition, council committee members often are involved in informal conversations or on social media, which they need to be very careful about. And of course, the election of the professional members to the council involves a lot of external communications.
You mentioned the 3 C's around communications. What principles apply to ensure that college communications are clear, consistent, and coordinated?
Well, first of all, the communications have to be consistent with the council decisions and policies. Then you also need to think about how they are initiated. Typically, college only initiates information by the council or by the registrar, very rarely by others. And then who are the spokespeople? If you have clearly identified spokespeople, typically the registrar or the president or their delegates, you're much more likely to have clear, consistent, and coordinated communications. For the most part, individual council members do not initiate communications on behalf of the college. There's a few exceptions, for example, where council says, go and talk to your colleagues about this, or where they're giving simple general updates to the local community. When someone makes a request for information or a comment from individual council or committee members, most of those inquiries are referred to the registrar. Sometimes council committee members might just be listening, but they need to be careful that they're not using that as an opportunity to then get into saying things that are inconsistent with the college's message. And if any important information is learned, the council committee member should report that to the registrar. Operational inquiries are handled by staff. So someone calls, say, how do I make my application for registration? Staff would handle that. If there's a request for a speaker on a college-related topic, that request belongs to the college and not to the person who received the request. And so the college would decide who would be the proper person to make that presentation, and the content of the presentation would likely be reviewed ahead of time by the registrar to ensure it's consistent with the college's position on issues. And just a reminder that if you are compensated for the speech, you need to give that compensation to the college. You also need to be very careful that you safeguard all of the information you have. So, discussions in elevators, restaurants, and taxis can result in a breach of confidentiality.
How does the expression speaking with one voice apply to council?
Once a decision is made, you cannot, as a member of council, speak against it. You can advocate passionately before the decision is made what the decision should be. And once a decision is made, you can, through the proper channels, ask for it to be reconsidered. But once the decision is made, you as a council member must support that decision. So you need to identify clearly what the decision was and not what your position was on that decision. You must identify what reasons were given by council for that decision, not your particular position on that. And you would not criticize or speak against that decision. Even if the discussion was in a public council meeting, you need to speak with one voice and only communicate the decision and rationale that council had for that. Now, the rule is a little more flexible when we're talking about committee work. So if you are in a committee and you are dissenting, let's say in a decision of a discipline committee, you're allowed to write your dissenting decision and reasons. And if a committee makes a recommendation to council that you don't agree with, you are allowed at the council meeting to disagree with the position advanced by your committee and explain why. But once a decision is final, whether it's at the committee level or at the council level, you would not advocate against the committee's decision.
Thank you.